Well, the country is founded on the foundation of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, and the Constitution stipulates the kind of institutions that are responsible for the governance of this country. And for as long as the governance institutions are not strong, it breeds a lot of contempt, it brings about mismanagement, and indeed it brings about misgovernance of the country. The Zambian people in 1991 decided that they will revert to the multi-party democracy. With that decision, it meant that the people of Zambia had the right to associate. They had the right to assemble, they had the right to do and be able to choose who should be their leader. It is sad in the current situation, the current dispensation, that the institution of governance are not only mutilated, but they are also fractured. The parliament of today, and I know that I belong to the parliament for 10 years, the independence of that particular institution is no longer the same. And so it is true about the judiciary. It is also true about the executive, because the executive is being arm twisted and is only being done by one individual. That is a very, very serious cancer in the promotion of democracy. In our country, we need to cherish the democracy, which democracy was fought for by our own forefathers, and they are really turning in their graves because of what is happening. People are scared to talk. The cybercrime laws are not any better. The intimidation is something that is an order of the day. We should be able to bring to a halt, to a stop, such kind of intimidation. As regards to Tasila Lungu, it's unfortunate that the seat was declared vacant by the National Assembly Speaker. Unfortunate because the lady in question is still mourning. We all know that the former 60th Republican president is still in the morgue. It's in a mortuary. And obviously she will not have freedom to do anything else other than to mourn the father. Surely the moral fiber must dictate, the moral aspect must tell you that when the body is still not yet buried in a house, people are very inactive in whatever spheres and whatever activity they need to do. So I feel terrible and bad that over and above the funeral, she has another yet burden to deal with her seat being declared vacant, because appealing and trying to get to court is a very, very huge burden. And in fact, it's not only a social burden, it's a financial burden. So it is important that even as we preside over the affairs of the nation, we summon our conscience, we summon our moral fiber, our morality, and ask ourselves questions. Is this right at the time? It is not right. Constitutionally, and I hope and trust that the judiciary, and indeed the Zambian people, do remember the case of Chawama versus the National Assembly Speaker then, and what the court decided at that time. Because that can be referred to. And the lady is not by deliberate that she stayed away from Parliament. There are a number of issues that have been at stake and that has forced her to stay away. We can only pray and hope that the Lord Almighty will give her strength and be able to guide her and give her the wisdom that she needs in order to deal with these trials and tribulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was Honorable Chungubu Alia, the former Member of Parliament for Pososhi and former Minister for Northern Province. We are here gathered to discuss the issue which happened yesterday in Parliament, where the Speaker expelled the Honorable Member for Chawama. It's very saddening if we follow very much what has been happening in Parliament. there was a time when this issue was brought on the floor of the House. If I can recall very well, the Speaker had ruled to say Honorable Tasila Lungu was given some room after the burial of his father. 14 days after the burial of his father, that's when he was supposed to have appeared before Parliament. But we were very surprised to see what happened yesterday, where the Speaker decided to change on what she had ruled earlier on. I just wanted maybe to create some background over this issue. We are here as members of Parliament and former members of Parliament discussing the issue of the expulsion of Honorable Tasila Lungu. At this moment, let me call upon Honorable Mlenga Fube to address the nation and the media.
Thank you very much. I would like first to start with appreciating the presence of all the MCCs that are around, the senior party members. I also want to appreciate the coordinator who is coordinating this presser. And verily, I also want to appreciate my senior, Honorable Chungu, who is my senior in everything, in politics and many other factors, and I think he's a seasoned politician who we can always bank on in terms of political wisdom and many other factors. In Bemba they say, "Ushiru ilomtembo amunangwe, no akwe upokwa." And what has happened to Tasila can happen to anyone. And let us not cheat each other that we are safe. We have seen that the Speaker may just be one of those that have implemented this, but this is a larger scheme than the highest meet. It is a scheme that started with Bowman in Sambo. It is a scheme that started with Marangi. We remember the Kabushi and the Kwacha elections of how the president even went against the law. First it was ECZ that came through with Article 52 and they disqualified Bomani Rusambo and Honorable Bomani Rusambo and Honorable Marangi before they even filed in their papers. And they had to struggle through the courts, and even when the courts said something, it was belated. And it was too late for things to be corrected. Why I have started that far is that I know that Honorable Tembo and others will try to consolidate on the same. It's because we want to build up the case, and we want to to show the Zambians that this is not a small scheme. It is a further scheme that by Emmanuel will come and qualify, which followed thereafter with the expulsion of the 9, of course, through invading PF. And then the water followed thereafter is jailing of MPs. And now we are seeing that this scheme has not been abandoned. It is a scheme that has been made to ground the biggest political party, the biggest voice in Parliament, the PF. And I think we will not sit and watch that as this scheme unfolds, and then we are just going to watch. And when we look at, we say that we are not even trying to threaten anyone. No. If you're Chava, there is even a song in Bemba where it says, so when we look at these factors, anyone behind this scheme, and you know yourself, you should realize that and political power, bengi twalikota makanyekanye muno bakaunda badini bakanyekanye bachiruva, he was a political dribbler na wambi ishimingala tumuletelelo telelo shatampawe kwali abaume who can reduce you to a baby. So when we look at that, we need to realize that apatu Africa nipali na mtalesu ushire mpapa nipali mayowa nshila ni. And we are not going to bug out because already Maritwana invade political parties. We know that at Cap 119 doesn't even agree. Why I'm saying this, I'm not dodging the Tasila issue. I want to make sure that this message goes to the right person, and you know where you are seated. That you have been destroying democracy. And I think today, get it right, that Zambians will not allow you to destroy democracy. When we look at these factors, yes, even when we talk about Mr. Kainde Hichilema, for him to rise to power, he was given a platform. By now, Mr. Kainde Hichilema was throughout the country having rallies and mobilizing people. Why has he silenced, has he suspended the Bill of Rights? Why has he silenced the opposition through that IGA who applies stone-hedge administrative tactics on Cap 113, which is the Public Order Act? So I am saying all this because we have reached a stage where we see that our democracy is highly threatened, and we have to call on to you, by President. Ukweba tichachilamo. Tufira tu afika kwa tuamo na tapachaba mwakuti apachachilamo ba President. Na tichilamo. Because ba President mwalipero makamu watiko 90, 91 na 92. Aya kuteka wino chalo, no start defend the constitution. Ba President mwa constitutionalist, first number 1. Before if one start raiposa mo, ukupita muli article 2 ya constitution. Aba kala mbana batuchita guide kale. Ukweba atina ba papa, ifile chitika. Echo papa pile ifile chitika pantu, kwa liba separation of powers. Nga mwatumu mwene judiciary, ililo mwenso. Parliamenti, tulifiabu mkuku wanga wanyila mparliamenti, kumuneza tira luba lantamfiari ilaji. And it's not, I know most of us have been blaming the speaker. No, she must be under pressure from some hidden hand. And I think it's clear now. Because, can you imagine where twapanga changes fwewe as a political party? Twatu ala kuja ku parliament by the same mouths who appointed that Chawinga guy. Lelo same appointment by kanata utatrefa ya kufuma kuli mumba political party. Twapanga changes kukonga nefe twa umfwene ukupitira mu fyo papolo wala ndamu 74. Kwena munjelele ko ninga lipasana lelo, and I think I'm ready to die, not just to go to jail, but to die over defending the constitution. Because if he shachilamo alone defa wakateka mumfu atifina fichilamo efika ndrefu. Because look, we cannot go on like this. Bakateka ngatamwaliko dide vale kera kula ku Cathedral of the Holy Cross. Ala Zambia vali chinjisho kufuna kuli one party state, ukuitwala kuli multi party state through article number 4. Ukufuma pala pene wakateka twalisanguka ni for multi party. Ichile pili bulo kwebati kulu vali lwenu na kulu vali lwesu kufile kwa fuma tolerance ya kwebati tule mfana wino we can coexist and cross-pollinate with our ideas, not the way we are doing things. Wakateka ngatamola bapo ngatama wa president ngachatra PF yale chitefumule chitakuli PF ngatamwa lipo ba president yo lelo mushiku wale lo wakateka ninji shwani mwa yo damla church mushiku wale lo pa Saturday ni mwa 7th day mule achita reflecting mwa ku church kutira bushe ndeteke chalo ukukonka nefere sampelele kuti nteke chalo pantu yimi tekele ya chalo wakateka te bonza to alimona kwabe njaba teka mu chalo mu kunge fifine chili tafiko kola kwena mu asa mulasa ati abena Zambia nga basa abula ballot abena Zambia tabashi bolubuli bengela mu ballot ne fifine bekelezi tekwa bati ni chief ye mwari chita silence amaralizi kuli ba mayewa Tasila mkwai mukose ululubuli lubuli lwabonse tulina imwe, and we can also pray that move strengthened during this trying moment. If mulutambirwe su tetubike chironda pa chironda mulelo osha futi kwa bakona kumipoka ko city lelo mukosefye mulolo shekulilesa lelo echo tulefo okula ndapo chakwe bati muli intimidation ku parliament, intimidation ku judiciary, intimidation all over the place. Na abantu tabale bombela buno bwino ba church tefye mwalo mbele ku bantu awe efye mwalo mbele ku bantu mo elandira kutirati mukesa wamye chalo kutirefye ba Edgar bale chitashani bale bomba lelwe chalo limbita bale myebe chinkabo mulinabo na chibipirako uko chirepo mwatisangire makamaka in terms of governance na ibipa uko chirefe mwaisangire nano mbafye mule mona kwikata fye mulela ndalelo pali pakubika kwemisepela nokubika ko bana mayo bati ulemo olini mwaka kirebu shete mutena mayo ngoyo mulino ya mwaka ka kuma trampled up charges te youth so Mr. Pelanchi mufwaya shamsango chani echo mufwaya kubika mu parliament nga that you are preaching about the new constitution. Maybe at this point chinande kona nenshane ko panono party constitution ninji shwaba ema walsa tuweba ko pafio jane ya pitawuna nikani ndela ndechibe mbandefu na mama kumushibomfwe ne bashiwe tona la fuira po pantu chachilamo because ngamwati mukonke sana wakateka urupapuro mwalishiwa tumwali wa 74 article 74 finch mwachitani mwa next time encourage chawinga kula kukasama twalimi mwana ko airport mulema mwana kuma tuko leader of the opposition ushauda ni leader of the opposition dili leader of the opposition ni bana bani bamusalile nilisa mwa mwene po cap 119 yapito ushiku kwa bula political party okutamo participate pali no instaba HH muni wa president wa political party hanga UPND na PF panti you are the one calling shots in PF. You are the one who decides who to be the Secretary General, who to be the none, and that is also confirmed through the courts. If that is seditious, let it be. Now, when we look at the issues that has to do with the Constitution, Bakateka, it's a so far you don't even qualify to champion a new amendment in the Constitution. That is why those numbers, 35, are wrong numbers. Because it's written, shall be prescribed. Meaning that after Papisha Constitution, Act of Parliament, which will be tempered with. We know Bakateka up to now, you have not given us the report of the 55 constituencies where they are. But we want to force a constitution on the people. Bakateka, we know that those schemes like dissolving parliament before a day of elections and allowing members of parliament that they should resign from a political party 2 months before elections are meant to kill the political party called PF further, because you know that you are holding on to the political party and then you want to drag these issues to a situation where most of the people, not only members of parliament that are currently in the PF, even those that are outside who want to stand on the PF ticket, will be stranded according to that particular scheme. It is a scheme further that is extended to your members, those that you may not want, who may not be willing to stand on, you may not adopt, who will be in problems. Na tumfa already kalaka mwachika lusoniso kalaka pitamo fiati no ba aba kemina wa independent tukala goma. It's because you are the constitution in a way has been taken over by lawlessness, and this is not what we desired. This is not what we want to see in Zambia. We want to see peace. We want to see democracy. We want to see constitutionalism. But what we are seeing now, Bakateka, few months before elections, to a papa tasana, chitenko kriye fintu wino. Fino tulela ndapano, nama ena ala sees tamapele wino munchende shimo. Nama voters na aluwa nama voters munchende shimo. Last time to alikwete 7 million registered voters. Those who voted were less. This time around, by that wali folks to capture 3.5 million. But tabakachite because kunchende shimo wakateka. In case tabamebe fishinka, abantu tabapokenshi amareji. Tabapoka amareji yo. Bale pitafyo munishila fe kwati nikankunguala, and you don't expect to capture. That is differentiating people. Meaning, if you tulela ndama pali non-star, the urgency is not you to amend the constitution that actually propelled you into power. The urgency is to clean issues that are not cleaned. The urgency is to make sure that people feed. The urgency is to make sure that there's no more shedding. The urgency is to make sure that the cost of living is reduced. The urgency is to make sure that the farmers are paid. If tulala ndawa shima farmer, ela baleru shafi otu kutomma lasting and kumwe sukwari loke mfulakari hata mpilo kuloka. But they're just struggling. When Madam Kasune was going around correcting views on the constitution that has not been allowed, Bakateka, in case Kuriko was a party constitution and you are still doubting that people hate you, we love you, that's why we are even advising you. where you did wrong, takwa bakateka anyway ninshwa kwa ba phrase ya first time. Takwa bakateka pole saka pashira muno mu Zambia. Uwa balira pokutwala act ku parliament ya constitution. Lero asa butukira ku bantu ati nyamdo kusta collect. Lero abika mu terms of reference muri act. Ale fitinga muri act. Epa wo wafia, and because it is not withdrawn from parliament, it is deferred. That is why the problem started. So there is nothing like hatred here or hatred there. All there is that you have in a way abandoned national values that are in Article 8. Among them, profession, morality, ethics, dignity, constitutionalism, democracy, and many other. That makes us to unite, and that unity is one of them. And there is also non-discrimination. What is happening in Zambia is against non-discrimination value, because you are discriminating others from political participation. You have discriminated the PF from political participation. PF, ever since you took over, has never even participated properly in a single. But you are not the only leader of the UPND, you are a Republican president. To demonstrate leadership by making sure that we have a fair ground as we approach elections. Let us not lose a lot of more MPs. It's not necessary. It's not necessary to have by-elections. It's not necessary. We need to have a situation where we have a fair ground. Ngamwatu sepa bakateka nshina mutu sepa. Lelo tupela niko nshitana ifo ya kutuka misepe abantu ngatabale mifoya tuka mifunyepo. Uko abulo kubomfya iligo means but kubomfya ballot. But ngamwawina tukamitotela tukakanga pano kula msapota. But in a way that you are trying to manipulate the electoral environment through different schemes, we refuse. We want democracy to take place. Ngani constitution ilipofye ilife fiti pirabe pana ilifiti pandileo manaka pi na Electoral Process Act number 35 of 2016 ileo manaka pi na Electoral Commission Act number 25 of 2016 balungu walishile bafyanshika kula la pofye ngavena mwalele pa mwapita nokupita. It is the same constitution that made you go through. Tuchitani kwa lau na ifu nga tatira tabantu na watu temwako. Fregine walela ndachi tuwele lepo. Tupiteko na ifuwe. Tumila ngeko futungateka kwa bantu. Ukuchila, ukutirati, mutitikishama feelings ya bantu. Ukupitila mkuchitama manipulate environment ya electoral environment. You can't be the only competitor. You were not even allowed to be the only competitor. At this point, I would like to balanda tukuna pilo wali kumuto. Mungele ko mwemfumu ni kwena ni nkalipasana pali file chitika muli chino chalo. Kutina vari apo kupusha pano pene mpere ko insambu batata ba imano balandi kona bena.
Thank you so much. That was Honorable Mlenga Waliafube, Member of Parliament for Chiluvi constituency. At this particular point, let me call upon Honorable Tembo, the Member of Parliament for Fela, to wind up our press as we discuss the expulsion of Honorable Tasila Lungu. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kapampi, Member of Parliament for Monsabomba, ladies and gentlemen of the media, fellow Zambians, I want to welcome you once again. But before I go into my statement, allow me just to recognize and show respect to our former Secretary General who's in the audience, Honorable Davis Mwila, members of Central Committee present, members of Parliament, former members of Parliament, I also respect you, being our forerunners. Several other people that are present, I also recognize you. Ladies and gentlemen, you will realize that Zambia suffered at the hands of the colonialists from 1924 to 1964. Our forefathers, led by many gallant men, freedom fighters, late President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Kapwepwe, Harimwanga Nkumbula, and several others, they fought for the freedom of this country. In 1991, other Zambians came to liberate us and reintroduce multi-party democracy. And today, we find ourselves duty-bound to ensure that we maintain and fight for the existence of democracy in this country. Now, it has been mentioned that Parliament is one of the three wings of government. It has a specific role to play to provide checks and balances to the executive. Judiciary, equally the same. They must provide checks and balances to the executive. The executive cannot be allowed to run this country at will, making mistakes, breaching the constitution, breaching the rule of law, which the president sought to protect and to uphold. And they expect us to be quiet. And when you speak, they say that you hate me because of where I come from. Is that normal? Where is this country coming to? The president is the first person to speak about the unity of this country. It is his duty under the constitution of this country. It is also his moral duty, notwithstanding the fact that even the constitution asks the president to recite in parliament values and morals of this country as enshrined in Article 8 of the constitution. But what we are seeing is quite worrisome. And today, we are sitting here because a ruling has been passed by Parliament just merely next year on Chawama seat. We all know the circumstances of the Chawama seat. The current holder of Chawama as Member of Parliament is a daughter to our president, whom as a country we have not buried. Is the president, the speaker, and every one of these people in the UPND not worried that we can keep the body of a former president in the morgue in another country? And yet they go back and actually vacate or declare vacant the seat of the daughter of the president who haven't buried. Because a funeral only ends at burial. Therefore, Tasila Lungu Mwansa, MP, is justified to continue mourning because this government, the government led by President Hakainde, has taken the family, including Tasila, to court over the burial of our father. So, I wanted to give that background. Now, it has been mentioned here that there has been a scheme, systematically so, where this UPND had come up with a scheme to actually destroy the opposition in parliament. It well started with, like mentioned, Bowman Lusambo and Mr. Malanji's seat. Those two seats were stolen. We came to the expulsion of 9 MPs. Further to that, as if that wasn't enough, there was also convictions which we cannot understand even now, which includes Munia Zulu, Honorable Mawonga, Honorable Nixon Chilangwa, Chitotela, and the mayor of, former mayor of Kabwat. You see now, with these people, they can mislead you into, into sin, you know. I almost said something else. Not even Kawata, but I will not mention. Now, the list hasn't ended, by the way. How they've been fighting the opposition in parliament. Further, we saw the circumstances under which our brother, Emmanuel J.J. Banda, left this country. We saw what happened to him. How is it possible someone has been abducted, someone has been beaten up, attacked by thugs, and yet the government, instead of investigating the culprits, they go further to slap charges on him? I'm sure, as fellow Zambians, you are thinking the way I'm thinking. It is not a coincidence. How? What is happening to this country? Further to that, we have seen several suspensions. Just recently, our friend Honorable Kapianga, Robert Kapianga, MP from Pika, earlier he was suspended for asking the speaker, merely asking the speaker that if you want to debate, come and stand for elections and be part of us and also debate. Because the role of the speaker is not to debate, but to manage debate in the House. Just 2 days ago, he was also again suspended. All that is meant to act against Article 74 of the Constitution and Article 60, which requires MPs to speak. Now, I'm not done with a list of all these activities. Further, we have seen the UPND bring a fake leader of opposition. I don't even want to mention his name because you see, even my mouth, I can bite myself. The leader, the real leader of opposition is Honorable Brian Mundoria. But the UPND, through their schemes and illegal activities and the breach of the Constitution, They've brought in a surrogate leader of opposition in the name of, what's his name? Chawinga, something like that. So what we are saying is that it is not in the interest of the country that all these things are happening. Now, we've just been informed, like I said earlier on, that there's a declaration of Chawama's seat as being vacant on the grounds that Honorable Tasila Lungu has not been in parliament. The real issue is not that she has not been in parliament. And indeed, we find actually, we would have expected that, this issue would have been left. But we also know that 6 months from now, we'll be filing in our nominations. The president will be filing in his nomination. MPs will be filing in nominations. Why being in a hurry to declare the seat vacant? Colleagues, you will agree with me that running a by-election is extremely expensive. We are talking about not less than 35 million kwacha by the Electoral Commission. Now, we are also aware that other than that money, there's a further 20 million spent by government through DCs, ministers using government fuel, ministers using government facilities to campaign. Further, government resources will be used to fund the thugs to go and cause violence in Chawama. That is the plan that they have. Because, of course, we all know that there's no way the UPND can win any election, including in Southern Province, but using violence, intimidation, and all these other schemes. So, I'm talking about the cost. My colleague has already talked about the need. Farmers are crying from all over the country. They have not been paid for the maize they supply to the government. And the government has been on top of things. No, we have bought. They haven't bought a single bag. Because basically they've collected the maize on credit and they are refusing. Now, why should you, who's failing to pay the farmers, be in a hurry to spend over 100 million kwacha on a by-election? Why should you be in a hurry? You was paid or failed to pay the retirees. There's no medicine in hospitals. CDF for 2025 has not been completed. It's coming 2 months before the end of the, in fact, a month before the year. And you want to be spending money on the, useless by-elections. Further to that, let me just also say that the Speaker's decision is actually against the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Act. From the legal side of things, the standing orders do not give the Speaker of the National Assembly or anyone inside Parliament or outside Parliament powers to declare a seat vacant on the basis of being absent from the House. Okay? I'm not talking about the reasons for being absent. Even if you willingly and without any reason you are absent from the House, there is no power conferred to the Speaker or anyone to actually declare a seat vacant. The last, what the standing orders say is that for the first offender, it's 1 week. Second offender, 2 weeks. Then if subsequent offenses, then 30 days. That is, it stops there. The Speaker cannot create laws where there's a lacuna. The Speaker has got no powers. They should bring an act of Parliament to deal with that, or an amendment thereof. And we do not know why they're in a hurry to do that. So, as the Patriotic Front, as fellow members from the opposition, we say that we cannot accept this decision by the Speaker. Firstly, the decision, like I said, is untimely, it's illegal, it's irrational, it's unprocedural, it's immoral, it's also against the spirit of Zambia. In fact, even traditionally, our ancestral spirits are against such decisions. Remember that we are Africans. This is nothing but an attempt to destroy the democracy which we fought so hard for. And we will not allow the UPND to destroy this democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to talk about the issue of the Constitution. Again, how on earth? There's never, I listened to the President saying that all the subsequent governments have enacted the Constitution and there was no opposition. And that they enacted their constitutions in the election year. These people brought the Constitution just last month. In fact, they haven't brought, strictly speaking, they haven't brought anything. Because the current Bill 7, which they are holding illegally in Parliament, was actually declared null and void. The current process that is going on must start with a draft. We must look at the draft, then we must look at, a bill. And that requires not less than 3 years constitutional making process cannot take a period of 1 year. It cannot take a process or a period of 6 months, like these people would want to suggest. So we are saying that this decision is immoral. Now, I want to also just quickly look at, the process. First of all, the process is wrong. The contents are also wrong. Look, this man, the president, has been telling Zambians that he wants women representation. Now, we've just talked about Honorable Maureen Mabonga. Now, the seat that they've just declared vacant,
It's not a woman.
Tasila Lungu, that is a woman. So honestly, can we believe such a person? Can Zambians again trust such a person? No. Secondly, like I said, there's a lot of selective justice in this country. There's a lot of selective justice, not only by the executive, but also even in parliament. Even in parliament, outside, UPND cadres are breaking the law at will, but nothing's happening. PF members and other opposition, they are being, criminal offenses are being fabricated against them. In parliament, personally, I have a complaint against Jack Mwimbu. Up to now, it has not been heard. My colleagues, we have not less than 28 complaints and they have not been heard. But if it's a complaint against a PF member, it's so done in a quick manner. And in most cases, because of their numbers, in most cases, in fact, in all the cases, people are found guilty. If you are lucky, they will say 1 week or ask you to actually ask for forgiveness. So I want to say that and emphasize that this government does not mean well, and exactly, does not mean well, and actually so far it's been 5 years down the line. Nothing has happened. Everything is just about, things that are bringing more controversy. And indeed, I must mention that, like Honorable Chungu mentioned, there is a case of, Chimbakambwili versus the Attorney General, which case clarified the role of the Speaker. When an authority has been made by the courts, it must be respected by anyone. That authority has not been overturned unless the same court overturns that authority. And I'm wondering where our colleagues really have been doing these things. Yeah, so having said that, in summary, in relation to the Chawama seat, we will not sit back. We will not allow the UPND to steal that seat. We are taking a number of measures, and I'm saying a number of measures which I will not disclose for now, but we ensure that that seat is maintained. And Tasila, as far as we are concerned, is still member of parliament. And, these UPND schemes which they sit at night. In November, they say that for yes, at night you have eaten something in hiding. During the day, you see, we'll see that this person ate this. And this is what is happening. So, having said that, I just want to emphasize that as far as we are concerned, these things will be corrected. And of course, they also say that the UPND are leaving government. And hence, all these problems are leaving us and all the mistakes that they've made so far. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you once again. This is the end of our press briefing.
Thank you so much. That was Honorable Emmanuel Tembo, one of our legal counsels for the Patriotic Front, who has just concluded the presser for this afternoon. And all I can say is thank you so much to the viewers out there and to the media. We really appreciate for the good job you are doing for us and making sure that the world is informed of what is happening in this country. Thank you so much once again, and have a blessed day. Thank you.